The divorce papers felt heavier than they should have, as if the weight of 12 years could be measured in ounces of legal documentation. I stood in what used to be our living room, now just mine, and traced my finger along Claire's signature. Bold, confident. Nothing like the trembling hand that had signed our marriage certificate. 3 months earlier, I wouldn't have imagined this moment. 3 months earlier, I was still the fool. It started with her phone. Claire had always been careless with passwords, using our anniversary date for everything. But one Tuesday evening, as she showered, her phone buzzed on the nightstand. I reached for it instinctively, probably Amazon confirming another delivery, and found myself locked out. New passcode. "When did you change your password?" I asked when she emerged, towel-wrapped and glowing from the steam. She replied while looking at herself in the mirror, not at me. "Oh, IT at work made us update everything. Security protocol. After 12 years, you learn to read the angles of avoidance." Then came the receipts. I found one in her purse while looking for gum. $127 at Victoria's Secret. Strange, since our bedroom had seen nothing but decade-old flannel pajamas for months. Another from a restaurant downtown, lunch for two on a day she'd said she was eating at her desk, buried in quarterly reports. The Wednesday book club started in February. She announced, pecking my cheek before heading out, "Finally making time for myself." But she'd return at 11 p.m. smelling of perfume that wasn't hers. Something musky and masculine clinging to her clothes like guilt. No wine on her breath, though book clubs were notorious for their Pinot Grigio consumption. And when I asked about the books, her summaries sounded suspiciously like Amazon reviews. "Which character did you relate to most?" I asked about her supposed current read. Her response was vague. "Oh, definitely the main one. Such a journey of self-discovery." The book was about a dog. My work in data analytics had trained me to recognize patterns. 20 years of spotting market trends, identifying anomalies in financial models, teaching algorithms to detect fraud. These skills bled into everything. I couldn't turn them off, couldn't stop my brain from connecting dots that formed a picture I desperately didn't want to see. Claire's sudden interest in my schedule was perhaps the most damning pattern. A woman who'd forgotten my business trips now memorized my meeting calendar. She would say, "Just want to plan dinner better," but her eyes would light up when I mentioned late nights at the office. I started documenting everything in a spreadsheet, hiding it in an encrypted folder labeled Tax 2019. Dates, times, inconsistencies. The data painted a clear picture. My wife was having an affair. The analyst in me was certain. The husband in me was drowning. 3 weeks into my documentation, she asked about my Thursday schedule with unusual persistence. "Probably another late one," I told her over morning coffee. "Johnson wants the Singapore reports by Friday morning." Her smile was too quick, too bright as she responded, "Poor baby, I'll leave dinner in the fridge." But Johnson had canceled our meeting that morning. His kid was sick. As I sat at my desk at 3 p.m. on Thursday, staring at an empty calendar and a half-finished report that could wait until tomorrow, I made a decision. My analytical mind had collected enough data. Time to test the hypothesis. I grabbed my keys and headed for the door, telling my secretary I felt ill. In a way, it wasn't a lie. The drive home was silent except for my heartbeat thundering in my ears, each mile bringing me closer to a truth I wasn't sure I wanted to confirm. The silver Audi in our driveway wasn't Claire's. I recognized it, though, had seen it at her CrossFit gym when I'd picked her up that time her car was in the shop. My hands trembled as I parked 3 houses down, approaching our home like a stranger casing the place. The front door would announce my arrival. It creaked on the 3rd floorboard, but the back door, through the kitchen, opened silent as a whisper if you lifted slightly while turning the handle. Muscle memory from midnight snack runs guided me inside. Their voices floated from the living room, and for a moment, I felt relief. Maybe it was innocent. Maybe her trainer was just... Claire's voice drifted out, but different, lighter, younger somehow. Can't keep sneaking around like this. A man's voice responded, deep and confident. 2 more weeks, babe. After we get the photos, you'll be free. My legs nearly gave out. I pressed against the hallway wall, iPhone already recording. You sure the Rohypnol won't show up in tests? Claire asked. If Ethan suspects... The man cut her off. He won't suspect shit. Man's too trusting for his own good. Besides, Amber's a professional. She knows how to make it look real. My blood turned to ice water. This wasn't an affair. This was something infinitely worse. Walk me through it again, Claire said. I heard wine glasses clinking. The man continued. Simple. Tomorrow night you make his favorite drink. I've already measured the dose, enough to make him compliant but not unconscious. Amber arrives at 9, plays the escort you caught him with. We get photos of them in bed together. You file for divorce Friday morning citing infidelity. With the evidence, you get the house, half his retirement, and monthly support. Claire laughed. Actually laughed. And his reputation at the firm is destroyed. God, Nicholas, you're brilliant. 12 years of playing the perfect wife finally pays off. Nicholas. The name burned into my brain. Nicholas David, her 28-year-old trainer with the MBA and the motivational quotes. I'd shaken his hand at the gym's Christmas party. Nicholas continued. The prenup becomes void with infidelity. Your lawyer confirmed it. Claire replied, 3 times. Ethan was so proud of protecting his premarital assets. Never imagined I'd find the loophole. They kept talking, each word another nail in the coffin of my marriage. They discussed the drug, how Nicholas had connections from his previous job at a nightclub, how they'd tested the dosage on Claire's cousin's ex-boyfriend months ago, just to be sure. How Amber would arrive in escort attire, how they'd position my unconscious body, how Claire would play the devastated wife who'd come home early from book club. My phone captured every word while my mind raced through possibilities. I could burst in, confront them, call the police. But no, they'd deny everything. It would be my word against theirs, and they'd just wait to try again. The strategic part of my brain, the part that had navigated hostile takeovers and corporate warfare, took control. I needed to think 3 moves ahead. They'd given me their playbook. Now, I needed to write my own. I retreated as silently as I'd entered, making it to my car before the shaking really started. My hands fumbled with my phone, scrolling to James's number. James Thornton, law school roommate, divorce attorney, and the only person I trusted to help me navigate this nightmare. Hey, buddy, what's... James started. I interrupted. I need your help tonight. Bring a camera. The good one, with the timestamp. Ethan, what's going on? He asked. I'll explain everything. Just... Can you clear your evening? I said. James responded. For you? Always. But you're scaring me. I stared at my house. Our dream home, now a stage for betrayal. I'm about to turn the tables on someone who thinks I'm too trusting for my own good. 4 hours. That's all I had to prepare for the complete destruction of my marriage and the salvation of my future. I drove to TechSpy, a surveillance shop downtown that catered to paranoid spouses and corporate security. The clerk, a bored-looking kid with gauged ears, didn't blink when I bought 3 micro cameras, each no bigger than a button. Nanny troubles? He asked while ringing me up. I replied simply, something like that. Next stop, the pharmacy. I purchased extra-strength sleep aids, the same brand Claire occasionally used, and liquid melatonin. Nothing illegal, nothing that would seriously harm anyone, just enough to return the favor. James met me at a Starbucks near my house, his expression cycling through disbelief, rage, and calculation as I played him the recording. Jesus Christ, Ethan, this is attempted assault. Conspiracy to commit fraud. We need to call the police, he said. I shook my head. With what proof? A recording that might not be admissible? They'll deny everything, lawyer up, and try again when I'm not expecting it. I pulled out my laptop, showing him the plan I'd sketched out. I need them to hang themselves with their own rope. James studied my notes, his lawyer brain engaging. The cameras are legal. It's your house. The recording too, since you were present. But switching the drinks, I finished his thought, is exactly what they plan to do to me. Except I'm using her own sleep medication. Nothing illegal, nothing harmful. Just enough to make them vulnerable to their own scheme. And you want me to? James began. I explained, document everything. Stay hidden, but ready. If something goes wrong, if they actually hurt someone, you intervene and call 911. But if it goes as planned... James nodded slowly. They wake up to find their plan backfired spectacularly. I returned home at 6:47, 13 minutes before my usual time. Claire was in the kitchen, humming while she cooked. Rosemary chicken, my favorite. The domesticity of it made my stomach turn. "Hey, baby," she called out, not turning from the stove. "Good day?" I replied casually. The usual. I kissed her cheek, tasting betrayal in her familiar perfume. Smells amazing. While she plated dinner, I installed the first camera in the living room, tucked into the bookshelf between two never-read novels. The second went in our bedroom, positioned on my dresser behind a cologne bottle. The third I kept in my pocket, insurance. Claire announced cheerfully, "I'm making you a special drink. You look tired." I accepted it graciously. "Thanks, love." The endearment tasted like ash. "Actually, let me grab some ice." In the kitchen, I set my drink on the counter while opening the freezer. My phone rang. James, right on schedule. I called out to Claire, "Babe, can you check if I left the garage door open? James is saying someone's been breaking into cars in his neighborhood." The moment she stepped outside, I worked fast. Her wine glass sat on the counter. I added the liquid melatonin, stirring quickly. My whiskey went down the drain, replaced with apple juice and food coloring from the back of the pantry. 20 seconds, maybe less. She returned with a slight frown. "It's closed." I replied casually, "Better safe than sorry." I took a sip of my fake whiskey, letting her see me swallow. "This is perfect, by the way. You always know just how I like it." We ate dinner in a parody of normalcy. She asked about my day. I fabricated meetings and deadlines. I asked about her book club. She invented plot points from a novel she'd never read. Two liars at a table, each thinking they were the only one. At 8:15, Nicholas arrived with practiced casualness. "Hey, sorry to interrupt dinner. Claire mentioned you might be interested in personal training packages." Claire jumped in with impressive acting. "Oh, right. I forgot to mention, Nicholas stopped by the gym today asking about corporate discounts." I played my part, yawning widely. Sure. Come in, though I'm pretty beat tonight." Nicholas settled on our couch with suspicious comfort, launching into a presentation about fitness goals and nutrition plans. I nodded along, letting my eyelids droop, taking another visible sip of my decoy drink. I stood, swaying slightly. "You know what? I'm sorry, Nicholas. I'm just exhausted. Claire, can you handle this? I need to lie down." Claire responded sweetly, "Of course, baby. Get some rest." I stumbled to the bedroom, where James was already positioned in the walk-in closet, camera ready. Through the cracked door, I watched Claire and Nicholas toast with champagne from our anniversary bottle, the one we'd been saving for a special occasion. Nicholas raised his glass. "To new beginnings." Claire corrected him. "To perfect endings." They drained their glasses. The melatonin in her wine would take about 30 minutes. The sleep aids I'd dissolved in the champagne, her own prescription, would work faster. 23 minutes later, their conversation began to slur. 28 minutes, and Claire was leaning heavily on Nicholas. At 31 minutes, they were both stumbling toward the bedroom, expecting to find me unconscious. Instead, they found their own trap. Claire and Nicholas stumbled through our bedroom door at 9:07 p.m., their movements uncoordinated, eyes unfocused. They expected to find me unconscious, ready for their sick photo shoot. Instead, they found karma. Claire slurred, grabbing the doorframe for support. Where is he?" Nicholas tried to answer but swayed dangerously, his hand missing the wall by inches. They both collapsed onto the bed, fully clothed, compromised by their own weapons. James emerged from the closet, camera rolling, while I checked their pulses. Steady, strong. They'd wake up with nothing worse than a headache and the ruins of their lives. James muttered while documenting everything. "This is surreal. They actually brought the drugs. They actually planned this." The doorbell rang at 9:14. Amber. I'd almost forgotten about the third conspirator. She stood on my porch in a tight red dress and heels, looking exactly like what she was, a professional escort hired for a frame job. Young, maybe 25, with tired eyes under carefully applied makeup. She said, clearly confused, "You must be Ethan. I'm supposed to meet—" I interrupted. "Claire and Nicholas. I know." I held up my phone, showing her a photo of them passed out. "The plan's been canceled." Her face went pale. "Look, I don't want any trouble. They said this was just photos, that you'd be agreeable." I explained calmly. "They lied. They were planning to drug me and use you to destroy my life." I pulled out my wallet, counting out $500. "This is for your time and your honesty. I need you to write down everything they told you, everything they planned. Date it, sign it. My lawyer will notarize it tomorrow." Amber studied my face for a long moment. "He said you were an asshole who cheated first. Said this was payback." I replied honestly, "I've never cheated on anyone in my life." Something in my voice must have convinced her. She took the money and the paper I offered, writing out a detailed statement in the kitchen while I made her coffee. Her real name was Jessica. She was working her way through nursing school. She'd done 3 similar jobs for Nicholas before, all divorces, all cheating spouse setups. Jessica said while writing, looking sick, "I always wondered why the husbands were so out of it. God, I feel sick. How many lives did I help ruin?" I reassured her. "You didn't know, but you can help stop them now." After Jessica left, with my lawyer's contact information and a promise to testify if needed, James and I moved Claire and Nicholas to separate rooms. Her on the couch, him in the guest bedroom, both fully clothed, both breathing normally. We left water bottles and aspirin within reach. I wasn't a monster after all. Then came the documentation. I printed everything. Claire's text messages to Nicholas, pulled from our shared cloud account she'd forgotten about, bank statements showing her secret account where she'd been siphoning money for months, the employment contract for Jessica, receipts for the drugs hidden in Nicholas's gym bag. I arranged it all on the coffee table like a twisted art installation. The divorce papers, already prepared by James, sat in the center, a sticky note on top with my lawyer's number. For Nicholas, I prepared a similar package delivered to his apartment by courier at 6 a.m., but his included something extra, screenshots of his conversations with 3 other married women from the gym, all discussing similar opportunities. His employer and the gym owner would receive copies by noon. The hardest part was the note. How do you summarize 12 years of betrayal? How do you explain the death of love in a few sentences? In the end, I kept it simple. Claire, the drinks were switched. Your own plan became your confession. The cameras recorded everything. Jessica provided a full statement. Your attorney can contact mine. Don't contact me except through lawyers. EPS, the prenup stands. I grabbed a suitcase I'd packed earlier and left the house I'd bought before I met her. James drove me to a hotel downtown, where I finally allowed myself to feel the full weight of what had happened. I didn't cry. I didn't rage. I just sat in sterile silence, staring at the city lights, wondering how I'd missed the signs for so long. Claire called 43 times the next day. Nicholas sent 12 texts, each more desperate than the last, begging me not to send the evidence to his employer. Jessica called once, just to say she was sorry and that she'd told 2 other women to check their husbands' drinks. The divorce was finalized in record time. Claire's lawyer, faced with evidence of conspiracy to commit assault, fraud, and blackmail, advised her to take the first offer. She'd leave with her clothes, her car, and nothing else. No alimony, no property, no retirement split. The prenup held like iron. Nicholas lost his trainer certification, his job, and his reputation. The gym banned him for life. 2 of the wives he'd been texting filed charges. He moved to Florida within a month, starting over where no one knew his name. Claire moved back with her mother in Ohio, her social media scrubbed clean, her phone number changed. Mutual friends told me she'd tried to spin the story at first, claiming I'd set her up, but the evidence was too overwhelming. Even her book club, which turned out to be real, just not where she'd been going, cut ties. 6 months later, I stood on the balcony of my new apartment, watching the sun set over the Pacific. The divorce settlement had left me financially intact but emotionally bankrupt. Moving to San Diego was supposed to be a fresh start, 3,000 miles from the house where my marriage died. The letter arrived that morning, forwarded by James from Claire's lawyer. Her handwriting on the envelope made my chest tight. I'd carried it around all day, unopened, like a test of my resolve. Now, with the ocean breeze carrying salt and possibility, I held the envelope over my balcony's fire pit. The paper was thick, expensive. She always did like her stationery. Without opening it, I let it fall into the flames. Whatever words she'd chosen, whatever justification or apology or accusation lay inside, I didn't need to know. That chapter was closed. My phone buzzed, my brother checking if I was still on for dinner. I texted back, "Be there in 20. Therapy had helped more than I'd expected. Dr. Martinez specialized in betrayal trauma, and she'd guided me through the rage, the grief, the constant questioning of every relationship in my life. She had told me, "Trust isn't about never being hurt. It's about knowing you'll survive if you are." The business thrived with my newfound focus. Turns out, when you're not constantly wondering where your wife is or who she's with, you can actually concentrate on market analysis. I'd landed 3 major clients and was considering opening a second office. Dating was still off the table. The thought of being vulnerable with someone new made my skin crawl. But I'd started recognizing the difference between Claire's betrayal and the possibility of future connection. Baby steps. My brother was already at the restaurant when I arrived, nursing a beer and scrolling through his phone. Michael looked up with that careful expression he'd worn for 6 months, the one that said he wanted to ask if I was okay, but didn't want to push. Michael said carefully, "You look good." I replied honestly, "I feel steady." It was the most honest answer I could give. We ordered, talked about his kids, his wife's promotion, the Padres' chances this season, normal things, safe things. Then, somewhere between the entrees and dessert, he asked the question I'd been avoiding. Michael asked directly, "Do you ever regret how you handled it?" I considered lying, giving him the noble answer about taking the high road. But Michael deserved truth. I answered simply, "No." They planned to destroy me with calculation and cruelty. I defended myself with the same tools they chose. The only thing I regret is not seeing it sooner. Michael pressed further. "And Claire? Do you think she's learned anything?" I replied honestly, "I think she learned that actions have consequences. Whether she learned to be a better person or just a better liar, I honestly don't care anymore." Michael raised his beer. to not caring anymore. I clinked my glass against his, to new foundations. Later, driving home along the coast, I thought about the man I'd been 6 months ago, standing in an empty house with divorce papers, wondering how I'd gotten there. That man was consumed by the need to understand why, to find the moment where love became conspiracy. This man, the one I was becoming, had learned something more valuable. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destroying someone else. It's refusing to let them destroy you. It's building something new from the ashes they left behind. It's living well, not for spite, but for yourself. My phone lit up with a notification. A woman from my building's gym had asked if I wanted to grab coffee sometime. 6 months ago, the idea would have sent me spiraling. Tonight, I texted back, "Sure. This weekend?" Maybe I wasn't ready for trust. Maybe I wouldn't be for a long time. But I was ready to try being human again, one careful step at a time. The garage door of my building rolled up, welcoming me home. Not to the house I'd shared with Claire, full of lies and ghosts, but home to myself, to the life I was building, to the man I was becoming without her shadow. Sometimes that's the greatest revenge of all. And so, we've reached the end of today's story. Was it what you expected, or did it take a twist you didn't see coming? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Share them in the comments below, and let's get a conversation going. If this story kept you hooked, make sure to hit that like button. And if you're new here or just haven't subscribed yet, now's the perfect time to join our community. I bring you fresh, captivating stories every day, so click that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you never miss out. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.